Welcome to Trinity Church of Austin. My name is Sid Hall and I'm Trinity's lead minister. I know that we're all yearning to be back together face to face, but at Trinity we are taking the coronavirus seriously. And because of the information we're getting from the CDC and local health authorities, we are choosing to continue to stream our services virtually rather than meet face to face. I hope, like you, to get back together as soon as possible and be able to hug each other and embrace each other in the community way that we're so used to doing at Trinity. But because of needing to be safe, we are continuing to be virtual and will be for the foreseeable future. Phone numbers for texting prayer requests, a downloadable order of worship, emails for Pastoral Care, and information on how to give are all found in the YouTube video below, and you'll find that also appear from time to time in our texts from the worship service. This week, we continue in our stewardship series entitled Change Begins at Home. Today's focus is on our talents, and the message is entitled, You've Got This. At the end of our welcome time, we will light a candle together as a way to create sacred space, as a way to come together in community. If you have a candle at home and would like to do that with us, please feel free to bring that out. We want you to know at Trinity, no matter who you are, who you love, what you believe or don't believe, you are welcome here. Welcome to the celebration, my friends.
I'm Tim Brace, Music Director at Trinity Church of Austin. For our threshold moment for this series, we are singing Where I Stand is Holy, a traditional Native American chant with added verses attributed to Barbara Clark. The ground under our feet, our body, thoughts, emotions, and our life and our work are all holy, encircled by the divine. Please stand in body and or spirit, and let us sing together.
Where I stand is holy, holy is the ground. Forest, mountain, river, listen to the sound. Great Spirit circles all around me. Who I am is holy, holy are we. Body, thought, emotion, connecting you and me. Great Spirit circles all around me. What I do is holy, holy is my way. Life and work together, celebrate the day. Great Spirit circles all around me.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Emma, and I'm the Children's Ministry Director here at Trinity. Although this is my last Sunday as part of the Trinity staff, I am leaving and moving out of state to start a new job. So today I wanted to read one of my favorite books, and I know the kids have read it before and you may be familiar with it. It is called I Am Enough by Grace Byers. Like the sun, I'm here to shine. Like the voice, I'm here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the trees, I'm here to grow. Like the mountains, here to stand. Like time, I'm here to be and be everything I can. Like the champ, I'm here to fight. Like the heart, I'm here to love. Like a ladder, here to climb, and like the air, to rise above. Like the wind, I'm here to push. Like a rope, I'm here to pull. Like the train, I'm here to pour and drip and fall until I'm full. Like the moon, I'm here to dream. Like the student, here to learn. Like the water, here to swell. Like the fire, here to burn. Like the winner, I'm here to win. And if I don't, get up again. I know that I may sometimes cry. Even then, I'm here to try. I'm not meant to be like you. You're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we will get along, and sometimes we will disagree. I know that we don't look the same. Our skin, our eyes, our hair, our frame. That does not dictate our worth. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we are right here to live a life of love, not fear. To help each other when it's tough. To say together, I am enough. And so I hope that you know you're enough. And to the children listening specifically, you are definitely enough. I think you are awesome, special, fun, amazing people. And though I won't be here when church meets in person, again, know that I miss you, I'm thinking of you, and that I love you. To the rest of Trinity, thank you so much for welcoming me in and letting me be a part of this wonderful, weird family we have here at Trinity. So I hope you all have a great week and know that I miss you, and bye.
For our meditation today, let's take a moment's break from our fast, sometimes contentious, often stressful daily experience. I've heard this kind of meditation referred to as a ceasefire meditation. As Sid said last week, time is on our side. We have always this moment, and how we use it, how we spend it, how we live it will influence the next. Please sit or stand comfortably. We're going to get in touch with every part of our bodies and purposefully relax as we go. We will go a bit faster here in the interest of time, but you can go through this more slowly on your own. I found it extremely beneficial. Close your eyes, and starting with your feet, pay attention to any discomfort you feel and relax your feet. Ask your feet, how are you doing, feet? Give thanks for all your feet do for you as you move through your day, usually inattentive to their blessing. Now moving up from there, relax your legs. Relax up the back of your legs through your bottom, the lower back, move up the back. Any special stressful areas, pay attention and relax those. Your shoulders, down your arms, your hands, your fingers, back up your arms to the back of your neck, up to the back of your head, top of your head, your eyes, your cheeks, your jaws. Take a breath and relax your whole body. sit with your body, relax for a few seconds. Notice the pleasure, joy even, of a relaxed body. Now, relax your mind. How much at peace is your mind right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being at peace, where are you? Be aware of that. Relax your mind. Just be still. Be still and know. Be silent. We'll sit in this for a moment with a quiet mind and relaxed. If your mind wanders, it's fine. When you become aware of that, come back to your breath and your body and relax again. Now let us, for this moment, be at peace and be still. When you're ready, open your eyes. Relax your mind again. Take a breath. Relax your body. Now see if you can carry some of this peace into the rest of your day, into the next moment. It will benefit you and everyone around you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. I'm Mark Moore. I'm the Associate Minister here at Trinity. This is the time that we hear your prayers. This has always been an important part of our worship, whether we're sitting in a circle in the sanctuary at Trinity or sitting in our living rooms at home. We'll take the time to sit with your prayers. If you don't text your prayer to be read aloud, or if we get to the end of our prayer time, feel free to type your prayer into the YouTube video chat box. I invite you now into an attitude and a time of prayer. Are there prayers that you would offer now for our lives and for our community? Please text your brief prayers to 512-766-3123. For Emma, who has been a blessing for us, we pray for God's blessing now and always. Joyful and healing Spirit, receive our prayers. A thanksgiving for the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May her memory be for a blessing. Healing and joyful Spirit, receive our prayers. Pray for Paula, Dina Henry's sister, whose grandson Misha has leukemia and is in Oakland, and Paula is in Chicago and should not travel. We pray for strength, healing, and joyful Spirit. Receive our prayers. for the coming of a safe future for America. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayers. From Gabriel, I pray for animals to be fine in the wild. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayer. Let us hold these prayers and those cradled in the silence of our hearts in a moment of silence. In this series for our prayer time, we focus our meditation on the words of creation-centered mystics. I invite you to be in a spirit of prayer as we reflect on the wisdom of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a 20th century Christian mystic and scientist. He wrote, "Someday, after we have mastered the winds, the waves, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. Then, for the second time in the history of the world, we will have discovered fire." Amen.
Our song of reflection for this series is Wisdom Circling, based on the words of Hildegard von Bingen, with music by David Marks, former music director here at Trinity Church of Austin and current choir director at St. Andrew's Presbyterian. Mark Boyden has created a new video for us featuring a body prayer by Dave Robinson, Kara Lewis, and Light German, and our choir gathering virtually to sing with you. Please stand in body and/or spirit and join us.
Wisdom circling, enclosing us all. Wisdom circling, one life-giving path. Wisdom circling, enclosing us all. Wisdom circling, one life-giving path.
Hi, my name is Paula Bowles. My wife, Serafina Chandler, and I have been members of Trinity Church for about 10 years. We're hoping and praying that each of you is staying safe and sane during these difficult times. Today's reading is from Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 41. On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great gale arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?"
Hi, I'm Valerie Ward, and today I'm reading some reflections by Barbara Scher, author of Wishcraft and I Could Do Anything If Only I Knew What It Was. I don't believe you live the good life by doing what you can do. You live it by doing what you want to do. I don't even think your greatest talents necessarily show up in your skills. All of us are good at things we're not madly in love with, and all of us have talents we've never used. Relying on your skills to guide you is simply unacceptable. You should be doing what you love. What you love is what you are gifted at. Only love will give you the drive to stick to something until you develop your gift. What you are is a human being, sensitive and alive with genius inside of you. Not only that, but you are one of a kind. There has never been anyone like you before. You see the world in a unique way because you have unique gifts. That's the way nature made you. And it will feel like nothing less than fulfilling your destiny to follow those gifts to a rich and exciting life full of purpose and meaning and enjoyment.
Sometime around my junior year in high school, I was given a skills test, a way to knead out and discern what kind of talents and possibly career choices were in the future for me. Everyone had to do it, and at that point I didn't know what I wanted. I knew that I was good at history and not much of anything else academically. And so I was surprised to find out, when all was said and done, that the suggestion was that I go into drafting, as in being a draftsman. And I remember thinking, that's not what I want to do, a draftsman? I had taken a drafting class, and maybe that was where the influence was, and I enjoyed it tremendously. But I knew that I wanted to do something with academia or possibly teach, but thought, well, maybe I don't have what it takes to do that. I, at that point, didn't believe that I was even college material, and so I could go to a local technical school, become a draftsman, and have a good, solid career, perhaps. What's interesting is that even though I went on to college to major in history and religion, and continued on through my education in seminary and my doctorate, focus on those same areas. When I take those playful, fun Facebook tests to see what you should do with your life, I always come out designer, and it's a strange thing. How this is like like being in the drafting business. What's the bit with designer? And as I've thought more about that, I realized that I like creating something, casting a vision for something that is not yet present. When I walk into a room, no matter what it looks like, I can immediately begin to visualize what it could look like if it were redesigned. So for some reason, that is my life skill. Many of us have a difficult time, and I did as well, discerning what that core self was. What am I? What are my talents? What do I have to offer this world in my presence? What do I have to offer the communities where I belong? What do I have to offer the friendships? And that's always a process of discernment, and it can change over the years depending on our life experiences. But I believe we all have at our core certain kinds of skill sets, certain kinds of ways of being that connect with who we are. You know, in the reading we heard just a few moments ago from Barbara Scher, whose groundbreaking book, Wishcraft, was instrumental for me. She says, "You are one of a kind. There has never been anyone like you before." And she goes on to say, "You see the world in a unique way because you have unique gifts, and it will feel like nothing less than fulfilling your destiny to follow those gifts in a rich and exciting life, full of purpose and meaning and enjoyment." She believes that no matter what we do for a living, we need to find a vocation that may or may not be what we do to make money, but a vocation that lines up with the unique gift of who we are. This week, we're talking about talent. And when I think of talents, I don't start from the place of what are the talents that this church needs for stewardship in order to carry forth our mission for the next year. I believe we should start with ourselves. Now, there's aspects of our culture that say that that's just selfish and we shouldn't focus on ourselves. But I think if you don't align with your true self, what you truly feel passion toward, what you value, you're not going to have your whole heart in what you're doing. Now, I do believe there are times that we can stretch into new areas that we might never have thought of before. One of the things I like about tests like the Myers-Briggs is if you read it correctly anyway, it doesn't say that, okay, this is who you are, therefore these are your strengths and weaknesses, and that's the way it is forever. No, the Myers-Briggs wants you to know the areas that you can grow, the challenge areas, the opportunities for you to stretch and expand your personality. But at the core, I believe, we each are endowed either through genetics or through environment or both into some unique expression that no one else in the whole history of time can express in the way we can. What a great opportunity, and what a awesome responsibility as well. One of the books that I enjoyed reading a number of years ago was the psychologist James Hillman's book, The Soul's Code. And he talks about the ancient Greek idea of the daemon. It's not a demon, even though we get the word demon from that same word. The idea of the daemon was this unique self endowed by the gods to each person that has certain talents, certain skills, certain personality traits, and that it is uniquely endowed to each person. And while I don't understand all of that, I think that it's a worthy concept. Hillman says that just because you have that or even can explore that and discover it doesn't mean that you necessarily fulfill it. Sometimes the circumstances of life, if you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy and you are consumed about finding shelter and food and your very health depends on resources, you may not have the luxury of exploring what your deeper calling is, your vocation, your unique talents. So there is a level of privilege that comes with this whole discussion. But when you're able to find that, there are still some obstacles that can prevent you from ever expressing that fully. One is not to embrace it yourself. When there's some script that you're carrying around that says, well, I know that's what I really enjoy. I know this is what I want to do. I know this is how I want to express myself, but I can't do that. It's just not realistic. I don't know how to do it, or whatever. We have those voices that prevent us from doing that. Hillman also says that there's a shadow side to the daemon. The part of us that's been wounded, that's broken, and that carries those wounds. Those wounds sometimes can be so severe that they drown out the daemon. They drown out the possibility. He provides the example of Judy Garland, this young woman who grew up in a very dysfunctional home in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, out on the edge of the frontier. But from the very time she was young, very young, it was clear that she could sing. And not just sing, but knew how to express it in a way that seemed to embody her whole self and fill up the room. It was clear that she had something to offer. And fortunately, the people around her saw that and entered her into contests and this sort of thing. And when you watch The Wizard of Oz and you see Judy Garland singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, you feel the power and energy of that daemon in her, that unique gift. You know that even though it's a movie, even though it's a story that is not exactly her own, somehow it is her own. And yet when you read about the trajectory of her life and becoming famous from that movie, you read about how the shadow of the abuse of her childhood, how the struggle with alcoholism, how the dysfunctional qualities that defined multiple generations of her family crept in and eventually drowned out the beautiful voice, the beautiful daemon that you see when she's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it's truly tragic. So Hillman says that these two things, not accepting that expression of ourselves or not knowing how to navigate it in the midst of the many struggles that we carry with us, the many wounds that surround us, those are the things that can prevent us from truly expressing that. When I think of Trinity, I think of how we all are made up of, we're a community made up of individuals that have those same kinds of struggles, that wonder if we have the capacity to be who we are called to be. The passage I chose from the Gospel of Mark this morning is one that at first glance may not seem that it has anything to do with talents, but I want to share with you why I chose this passage. This passage appears in some form in each of the Gospels, and it obviously was a narrative that was important for the early church, or it wouldn't have made it into the Gospels. And most of the accounts are similar. The core of it is that Jesus and the disciples were moving across the lake, in a boat, and a storm came up. And Jesus was asleep in the back of the boat. And the disciples became fearful and probably even angry when they looked over and there's Jesus sound asleep. And they're thinking, come on. And of course, they go to him and they say, don't you care about us? Do something about this. And it says that Jesus commanded the wind and the water and said, peace, be still. And there was a stillness that was created. And then there was, after the rebuke of the wind and the sea, a dead calm. And then he said, why are you afraid? Have you still no faith? And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Now, from a mythological standpoint, I don't believe that Jesus or anyone else can command the wind and the sea. We don't have that capacity, unless you think about global warming and how collectively we are changing the wind and the sea, unfortunately, for the worse. Talk about the shadow side of the daemon in that responsibility. But individually, no. This is a mythological story told in order to teach us something. And there are many things that it teaches. But one of the unique teaching aspects of this passage is that by the time Mark and the other Gospels were written, Jesus had long since been crucified. And many of those disciples that were in that boat were then the leaders in the early church. Some had already died and had died violently for being people of profound faith. They would have known that Peter, for instance, was in that boat, that he was one of the ones that was afraid and woke up Jesus. They would have known that Peter would have been one of the ones that Jesus addressed when he said, have you still no faith? And they would have known that Peter found a way to have profound faith and courage, to live out his convictions, to live out his values, and command a powerful leadership presence in the early church that gave the early church the same kind of confidence that Jesus instilled on the disciples on that dark lake. And so, at a core level, the early church was reading this story, seeing themselves in it as well, knowing that they were like the disciples, being tossed about and wondering if they were going to die. In what was the future, they did not know. And they felt that they were the ones that still had little faith. But the story, through implication, indicates that even those that are being tossed about by the wind and the sea can become those who command a dead calm, who command a non-anxious presence, who are able to be for each other, the early church, and the world, a powerful presence of love and justice making and caring. And so at the core, when they're reading this and Jesus says, who then is this? Or they say, who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey? They were thinking at the same time, who then are we in the midst of this? We are those who can grow into that faith. I think that talent works a lot like that. We need to begin to see ourselves as not the afraid people that have no control over the situation. Maybe we don't have control over the immediate situation, but we can still dig deep within ourselves and find the unique talent and gift that no one else can offer. And then I think about what can happen when a church community made up of individuals who have unique gifts and talents that no one else can offer come together as a community. Now, sometimes those bump up against each other. There's always conflict in the midst of community, in any relationship, because we are not the same. We have different ideals and visions of how things can happen. But when we work together and when we appreciate that someone doesn't need to be like me in order to be fully embraced in the community, and that I don't need to be like someone else, that together we creatively can become the talent that this community needs and that perhaps the larger world needs, then we've got something going. I feel like that during stewardship, one of the calls to us is to think in terms not just in what talents do I have that can help engage the church in the next steps. I want us to start with what brings me joy? What brings me meaning? What brings purpose to me? And is there a way that I can take that and express it in this community? And I believe that there is. One of my favorite modern writers is Margaret Wheatley, who writes about leadership and physics. And she, in her book, Leadership and the New Science, has some powerful things to say. She says, all of us want so much to know the why of what is going on in our life. We instinctively reach out to leaders who work with us on creating meaning. And then she says this, a self-organizing system, and that's one where we respect the unique gifts of all. A self-organizing system has the freedom to grow and evolve, guided only by one rule. It must remain consistent with itself and its past. Now, what that means to me is that we have to remain consistent individually with ourselves, who we are uniquely in this planet, what we have to offer that no one else has. When we have that as our starting point, we're in a good place. And she says that that when we do that, we become what's needed in that self-organizing system. But the other piece of it is this. Trinity also has a core set of values that have to do with inclusiveness, have to do with justice making, that have to do with being a community that is rooted in Christianity and yet is welcoming and accepting of other faith communities and other traditions. We are a community that values kindness in the midst of what it means to live and work together. We have many things that are our core self. And we can't think, well, what does this need out here if it's disconnected from those things? So we have to not only start with our own individual talents and unique daemon, but the daemon of the church, the uniqueness that we as a Trinity community have evolved into. And the intersection between the individual and respecting oneself, that you are enough, and the church's own unique value system and mission. When those two come together, nothing can stop us. We are in the midst of a pandemic. We are in the midst of a world crisis. We are in the midst of social turmoil that has all of us questioning and wondering what it is that we can do to make a difference. Can we make a difference? I don't think that's changed. I think that that is still in place. And I believe that even though we're having to redefine who we are a bit as a community by not being together face to face, those core values that make up Trinity and those unique gifts that each one of you bring are the exact ingredients for us to evolve and become who we are going to become. What that is, I can't tell you. And the reason is that every new person that walks through the door brings in a unique gift that wasn't here before. And when that becomes a part of the community, the whole community has to reconfigure into its new, unique self. But I do trust this, that whatever those things are, coming together is exactly what Trinity Church needs, what this community at large needs, and what our world needs. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Our song of response this week is Many Gifts, One Spirit by Al Carmines. Al is considered by many to be the father of off-Broadway musical theater and off-Broadway experimental theater as well. He was a graduate of and later taught at the Union Theological Seminary in New York City, and also served as pastor for a United Church of Christ congregation in Manhattan. The lyrics and music for Many Gifts, One Spirit were written by Al Carmines as a commission from the United Methodist Women for their General Assembly in 1974. This piece is in the United Methodist hymnal number 114, in case you have one with you and would like to follow along with the music. The lyrics will appear on the screen. Please stand in body and/or spirit, and let us sing together.
God of change and glory, God of time and space, when we fear the future, give to us your grace. In the midst of changing ways, give us still the grace to praise. Many gifts, one spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences, blessing from diversity we praise. One giver, one God, one spirit, one word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the guest, praise, praise, praise. God of many colors, God of many signs, you have made us different, blessing many kinds. As the old ways disappear, let your love cast out our fear. Many gifts, one spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences, blessing from diversity we praise. One giver, one God, one spirit, one word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the gifts, praise, praise, praise. Freshness of the morning, newness of each night, you are still creating endless love and light. darkness we see as shadows part, many gifts from one great heart. Many gifts, one Spirit, one love known in many ways. In our differences blessing, from diversity we praise. One giver, one God, one Spirit, one Word, known in many ways, hallowing our days. For the giver, for the gifts, praise, praise, praise.
Now is the time that we bring forth our offerings. In our worship space at Trinity, we always have two opportunities for our offering: a wooden bowl for the support of the programs and ministries of Trinity. And Trinity remains committed to the health and well-being of the whole community. We remain committed to following the advice and guidance of health professionals and scientists, even as we all yearn to embrace this beloved community and to act in typical Trinity fashion to support those in need, those who are oppressed, and those who are made invisible. Your support of Trinity is critical for us to meet the commitment that we made to put the well-being of this community and that broader community first in our hearts and in our actions. And that means to continue worshiping online for a while longer, and to continue paying the dedicated folks who work with our children and our hourly staff, and making our facilities available to Hope Food Pantry, and to maintain those facilities. It's so important in this uncertain pandemic time to fill out an online pledge form to help Trinity's leadership prepare a budget for the coming year. You'll find a link in the video description of this broadcast, and also in the mailing sent to your home. We also always have a woven basket for a special offering, and this week it is for IACT, Interfaith Action of Central Texas. IACT is a Central Texas organization that cultivates peace and respect between faith communities through interfaith dialogue, service, and celebration. Now, there are several methods by which you can give to Trinity today. You can visit our website at www.trinitychurchofaustin.org and then click the Support tab and scroll down that page to find options there. You can download the Give Plus mobile app from either iTunes or Google Play. And you may also text your offering to 512-967-0292 and add the keyword special to support IACT. And if you want to give to both the general fund and the special offering, send two texts, one with the keyword special and one without. Please send Trinity your most generous offerings today.
Hey Trinity, this is Gus, one of your interns. I've got a few announcements before we end our service today. First, as normal, you can reach out for Pastoral Care. You can either reach out to Sid's cell phone, which is in the description below, or email pastoralcare@trinitychurchofaustin.org. And that email goes to myself, Mark, Sid, and Joe, just the pastoral staff. It's September's stewardship month, and we need your commitments to put together our annual budget and continue our programs and ministries. You can fill out the pledge form online via the link in the email or in the video description, or you can look for Sid's annual letter in your mailbox. That's the Trinity Stewardship Program for 2021. Adult Sunday school classes are meeting virtually still, just before the service. That's the Happy Heretics group, the Lydia group, and the Social Justice class. That's at 10 o'clock, just before this service for the hour. If you want links to their Google Meets, please email office@trinitychurchofaustin.org. Also, and finally, we are still having the virtual coffee with Sid. That's every Thursday morning at 10:30. And you can email office@trinitychurchofaustin.org for a link to the Google Meetup. And that's a fun get-together every Thursday morning with Sid. Conversation just to check in. Love to see you there. That's all I have. We'll hand it over for the benediction.
Before we depart today, I want to mention to you once again that we are in the midst of our stewardship season. At Trinity, we receive no funds from the larger church. In fact, we give to the larger church of the United Church of Christ and to justice ministries within the United Methodist Church. And we also, like many organizations, have a budget that require us to be good stewards of your money, of your resources, to pay staff, to pay utilities that continue to provide space, even in a pandemic, for Hope Food Pantry to operate, for the teachers of our school to film their classroom work virtually to the homes of their students, and many other things. We are continuing as a church. And even though it's strange to request resources, financial resources, during a pandemic, we are doing so because that's what we do as a church. And if you're with us for the first time and you're thinking, oh my gosh, all churches do is talk about money, not true. We do on occasion because we, like everyone else, require it to operate. If you are on our mailing list, you would have received a letter called Stewardship 2021 that says change begins at home. And on the back is a form in order to help you pledge to Trinity for the 2021 season. You can also see on our webpage now and on the virtual service an app, and that's coming up on the screen right now for you to go on your cell phone and make a pledge as well, and how to download the form and all of that. We ask that you prayerfully consider supporting Trinity in the year 2021 so that the good things that we're doing together as a congregation for justice, for compassion, not only in our neighborhood and in Austin, but around the world, continues out of your flowing forth of generosity. Thank you. And now let us receive our benediction. Now may the peace of God go with us. May the power of God sustain us. And may the love of God keep us together forever. Amen.
Let us hesitate no longer in our doubt and our dismay. There's a power at work within us that has promised a new day, and the time will surely come, it will not be long delayed, when God fills the world with love. When God fills the world with love. When God fills the world with love. When God fills